welcome to the Chartered Institute of Internal Auditors Talk to Internal Audit. I hope you've grabbed your coffee and I hope you're joining me for a chat on how we might support each other through the key challenges for internal audit in the COVID-19 pandemic. And now we are looking beyond the current pandemic into how we are going to address some of these challenges moving forward. So first and foremost, for those that don't know me, I'm Liz Sandwith. I'm the Chief Professional Practice Advisor for the Chartered Institute of Internal Auditors UK and Ireland, and I've been a practicing internal auditor for almost 32 years in October, gosh. Those of you that don't know who the Chartered Institute is, so those of you that are new to this group, really great to see you or to hear you or to have you with us. Welcome. The Chartered Institute of Internal Auditors is the only professional body dedicated exclusively to training, supporting and representing internal auditors in the UK and Ireland. We have approximately 10,000 members in all sectors of the economy and all parts of the UK and Ireland. And members are part of a global network of 200,000 members in 170 countries, all working to the same international standards and codes of ethics. So you can tell you're part of a really large body of professionally qualified CIA internal auditors. So before we kick off with today's session, I'd like to update you all on a poll we had running last week for this live stream. As you will be aware, last week we invited you all to take part in our social media poll to determine when our stream should run in the future. Our ambition was to arrive at a day and a time that works for everyone, not just one that works for the Institute. Well, the votes were cast and I'm pleased to announce that our most voted day was, drumroll, Thursday, the day we currently stream on. But the fun doesn't end there, as we currently have a second poll running to determine what time our live streams should run on Thursday. That's right, we're leaving no stone unturned. We're leaving it to you, our interested parties, our customers, to tell us when. You have 3 time slots to choose from, 2, 3 and 4 p.m. If you haven't already voted, now's the time to do so. And you can cast your vote on LinkedIn or Twitter, and voting closes at the end of today. And if time is really important to you, the hot favourite at the moment appears to be 4 p.m. So if you want another time, if that's not convenient, you need to vote. So let's wait and see how it all turns out. Today's topic, business leadership excellence. The coronavirus pandemic has been an epic test of character and determination for millions of people around the world. Nothing compares with the sacrifice of workers on the front line in hospitals and other essential services. In the business context, chief audit execs, heads of internal audit have had to cope with extraordinary demands. For them, the pandemic has been an ultimate leadership test. Remote working is hardly a new trend, but never before has it been deployed on such a massive scale in such a short amount of time. Organisations and internal auditors that have never relied on remote workforce have been forced to go virtual. So a massive change for us. Remember, if you like Facebook streams and want to spread the word, and I'm sure you do, be sure today's live stream is one to share. You can do that by clicking the share button in the corner of your screen. The more the merrier. So again, just in case you've forgotten, the theme reminder for today, if you're just joining us, welcome to our live stream, Talk to Internal Audit, and today's theme is Business Leadership Excellence. So today there is no competition, but as we go through the session, I would like you to think about someone you know, someone you have read about, that you think is an inspirational leader. perhaps a parent, a politician, your head of internal audit, someone from history. Think about what makes them inspirational to you and why, and do they address the points I'll be making in the next 20 to 25 minutes? And I know you're sitting there thinking, oh, Liz, so who are your inspirational leaders? Well, I think at the moment, and over a couple of incidents that have occurred over the last 2 or 3 years, Jacinda Ardern, the Prime Minister of New Zealand, I think has been a phenomenal leader for that country. She is open and honest. I've seen her, when they've had disasters, attending funerals and crying, being emotionally moved. So for me, she is an inspirational leader. And she's all done it as a mum, a wife, all sorts of challenges that we all face every day. So I think she is very much an inspirational leader. The other one, and perhaps you might say is fairly obvious, is Nelson Mandela. I think his tolerance, his commitment to a belief has been phenomenal. And, through his life, the way he went back and saw his the officers of the prison in Robben Island where he was, and, treated them with respect, didn't bear a grudge. I think that's an inspirational leader, and how he led South Africa, I think, was something phenomenal also. And also, without question, the other inspirational leader in my life was my father. I lost him when I was 16, but the imprint that he had on my life up to then was just unbelievable. And everything I do every day, I wonder if he's proud of me. See, I'm getting emotional now. Sorry about that. So those are 3 inspirational leaders for me. So it'll be interesting to see who you're thinking about. So now moving on and thinking about the topic for today. Executives can thrive at work and in life by adopting a leadership model that revolves around finding their strengths and connecting with others. Isn't this also true of internal audit leaders? Today's complex, volatile and fast-paced business environment is placing extraordinary stress on all leaders. And many leaders lack the skills they need to cope, which undermines organisational performance and personal satisfaction. So what are the key skills required of an internal audit leader? We need to think about their ability to cultivate the capabilities that they as leaders can unlock in the organisation and the internal audit's potential in challenging circumstances. How do they go about this? How do they unlock these capabilities? How do they motivate us moving forward? Give your life and work a sense of meaning that you communicate openly to others. Often as internal auditors, we talk about the courage to speak truth to power. So we need a sense of meaning and the importance of our communication and why communication matters. We need to think about framing challenges constructively, emphasising opportunities in change and uncertainty. We need to tap in to a broad spectrum of internal and external people who can help us as internal auditors and our internal audit functions succeed. So as I'm talking, think about your organisations and think perhaps about someone in your organisation that you rely on. And it could be in any team within the organisation as a sense check. If you're thinking of doing something different, if you are wanting to change a working practice, who would you go to and talk about? Because they are your network of colleagues, senior managers, and critical friends that we need, all of us, we need to tap into. And some of them may be inspirational leaders within your organisation, people that you are proud to be associated with. We also need to engage proactively with our risk function and encourage our organisation to do the same. So as leaders, we need to recognise the breadth and the challenges of our organisation and what it's going through. We need to sustain our energy while creating conditions for others to restore their energy. So if you're a manager with a team, how have you been in these exceptional circumstances? How have you been motivating your team? I was on a session this morning, a breakfast briefing, and there were a whole raft of sports personalities talking about the challenges, and they were talking about, you know, how you bring people together in these circumstances. So they were talking about virtual forums, virtual meetings, virtual coffees, to share thoughts and ideas and challenges, as you would do in a team meeting face to face in the office. So let's think about that as leaders, whether we are, you know, if I have any CEOs on the call, whether how you lead, audit managers, heads of internal audit, all of those sorts of things. Or maybe you are leaders in your community. Maybe you run a Boy Scouts group or a Girl Guide group, or, you know, you're a leader in the St. John's Ambulance. Whatever you are, let's think about this in its widest possible sense, but also let's ground it in being a head of internal audit or an internal audit leader. More than half of CEOs within the past year have said that their organisations must fundamentally rethink its business model. Therefore, as internal audit leaders, we also have to rethink our offering and how we continue to add value to the organisation in the near future, and provide that assurance to our CEOs, senior management board, audit committee, around their offering and their new business model. Dependent upon the articles that you've read, and there are lots of them, some say there are 5 capabilities at the heart of centred leadership. Find meaning in work. And hopefully those of you that are internal auditors that are joining us today have a real passion and a love of your job. You can guess, having been in it for 32 years, I am incredibly passionate about internal audit. Convert emotions such as fear or stress into opportunities. Some people say it's about accepting what you can't change. So we can't change the scenario that we're in at the moment, but how can we change that into an opportunity? An opportunity perhaps to change the way internal audit's working. An opportunity to re-engage with some areas of the business that in the past you haven't. An opportunity to build relationships with your audit committee chair, when people perhaps have more time on their hands and the ability to link in via a virtual framework. Leverage connections and communities in terms of your organisation. So where are there some connections that you could strengthen or build upon, or get them to help you support internal audit? And acting in the face of risk. So we know there are challenges. We know that the world moving forward is full of uncertainties. So facing risk head on and thinking about it. And as I said earlier, sustaining the energy that is the life force of change. I think change is going to be something that we as internal auditors and leaders within the internal audit profession and within your organisation, the function, have got to face, because it is going to be challenging. McKinsey's have identified 5 dimensions of centred leadership. And if you haven't sort of linked in with McKinsey's, do so, because they are producing some really phenomenal documents and thoughts. So it's worth reading what they have to produce. So they've identified 5 dimensions of centred leadership. And those are meaning, managing energy, positive framing, connecting, and engaging. And there are some preconditions, namely intelligence. Hopefully, as internal auditors, we've got intelligence. Tolerance for change. Again, as internal auditors, change is something that we are fairly used to in terms of working with our organisation, providing assurance around transitional projects, change environments, those sorts of issues. A desire to lead and communication skills. Key requirements for internal auditors. A willingness to we talk about speaking truth to power in terms of our communication skills, being able to highlight advantages in things that we see, positive comments about good processes, but also calling out when we see things that are not as well put together as perhaps they might be. And that might be at the moment because everything is moving so fast. So it's about how can we share our knowledge and our skills through strong communication to improve business performance. And there are impacts. So if we embrace some of these capabilities, then hopefully the impacts will be things like presence. So you will, as internal audit leader, have a presence in your organization. Resilience, personal resilience, our ability to deal with things and to cope, see positives, move our teams and support our organization. And a sense of belonging to a community. And so for some of us, that community could be your internal audit function, but it also could be the community of your organization, the community of a senior management team, the community of an audit committee. So I want us to think about all of those as we continue to go through this. So I took some time to reflect on these 5 dimensions, as I said, meaning, managing energy, positive framing, connecting and engaging. And it occurred to me that they could have been written with a head of internal audit in mind. I don't think they were, but they could have been. Of these dimensions, engaging was the one that particularly resonated, as it refers to voice, our voice in the organisation, our ownership around the assurances we provide for governance, risk and control. Risk-taking, sometimes taking risks to highlight to our organisations that some of the things they're doing are perhaps not aligned to their strategy, their business model or their purpose. And adaptability. And that is certainly something that we are going to have to demonstrate over the second half of the 2020-21 financial year, because we are not going to be able to deliver the plan that we plan to deliver. We're going to have to rethink our work programme and perhaps do a lot more work in the second half of the year rather than spreading it across the year, and also potentially focusing on new risks that maybe we don't know a lot about. So isn't that what all leaders, but for me particularly heads of internal auditors, do daily? It was certainly something I strived to do when I was a head of internal audit. So have a voice, own things, take some risks occasionally and be adaptable. As we know, as the evolution of the internal audit function accelerates, the portfolios of risks and attributes that determine professional success transform. Technical skills remain absolutely necessary, but they're no longer sufficient on their own. The most effective internal audit leaders of the future possess a broad range of non-technical attributes in addition to deep technical expertise. So if you like, the technical expertise is a given. Research, according to Robert Half, indicates that chief audit execs are required to possess attributes such as business and risk acumen. That's also part of our competency framework. Analytical skills, communication skills. Yet these insights beg further questions, don't they? What exactly do we mean by business acumen? What does it consist of in practice? What methods do the best internal audit communicators commonly use? What are some of the key components of critical thinking that internal auditors need to apply in the field? For me, business acumen is about truly understanding your organisation, understanding what its purpose is, understanding the business model of the organisation, strong relationships with senior managers, and then looking annually at their goals and objectives and seeing that they align with the internal audit plan, the internal audit strategic plan, and also importantly, do their goals and objectives align with their purpose and strategy? And if we are seeing that there is a mismatch here, then are we calling it out? Are we highlighting this? So we talk about some of the prized attributes, things like integrity, the ability to build relationships, the ability to partner. We've talked about communication, teamwork. As internal audit, are you part of a team? I always worked on the premise that I would never ask any member of my team when I was a head of audit to do anything I wasn't able to do myself. And I enjoyed working with members of the team on audits, keeping my knowledge and skills fresh and sharing with them the wider perspective of the organisation. Diversity, absolutely key. And if you look at your internal audit function, would you say that they are diverse, not just in terms of people, but particularly perhaps in terms of skills? You know, we don't always want the same skill set. Some of the larger internal audit teams now in the financial services sector, I know, are bringing in business psychologists to help audit things like culture. So think about the diversity of your function and think about continuous learning. We should be learning every day. Somebody many years ago said to me that the minute you stop learning, you're dead. So let's make sure that we continuously learn from each other and as leaders, learn from our leaders. Each year, Protiviti's Internal Audit Capabilities and Needs Survey report identifies the personal skills and capabilities internal audit professionals want to improve. Heads of internal audit identified in this survey only one technical area among the top personal skill areas that they wanted to improve. So the four they identified was presenting, public speaking, communicating more efficiently, developing board committee relationships beyond the audit committee. So not just having relationships in terms of communication, opportunities to talk, share thoughts with the audit committee, but beyond that with the board itself. Developing outside contacts, networking, and then persuasion, mastering new technology, and dealing with negotiation dealing in terms of confrontation, the ability to have challenging conversations. So the only one there was about mastering new technology and applications. And I think we've all been really challenged, haven't we, over the last 15 weeks? Who knew that I could use Facebook? Who knew about MS Teams? Who knew about Zoom? And all the others. There are a list of applications that we seem to be using daily and how effective some of this communication has been. Although I still miss my cup of coffee and a natter with someone in the kitchen or, you know, on a way to a meeting, etc. But technology has really made it possible to work in this current environment, and for us as internal auditors to continue to support our organisations in whatever format that might mean. So changing demographics and the accelerated pace of globalisation require us as internal audit to influence and consult with a larger variety of ethnicities, nationalities, ages, cultures and subcultures within our company, particularly if you have a global footprint, as I did when I was at Bupa. We had internal audit teams across several countries. So bearing those challenges in mind and understanding as well the requirements of those countries. So laws, regulations, governance codes, are they different? What are they and how do we deal with those? We as heads of internal audit and you as audit leaders, whatever level you are, need to emphasise the ability to manage diversity in a comprehensive sense, and one that also addresses different thinking and learning styles. We are not the same. There is not one size that fits all, and as a leader we need to think about that. So ask yourself, is that what your leaders are doing within your internal audit function? We need diversity of thought, experience, and generational differences are also critical. The Harvard website has an unconscious bias survey that you can do. And it isn't simply would you hire a lady or a man, or what would you do. It's about the use of words, and you can tell what your unconscious biases are. And I'm sure you'll be very surprised. The lady that pointed me in the direction of this survey said to me, you need to sit down with either a very strong cup of coffee, or perhaps if it's later in the day, maybe an alcoholic drink, because she said you will be surprised. And I was. Apparently I have a bias towards elderly people. So maybe I need to look in the mirror a bit more, because aren't I one of those? She said to me that when she did it, she discovered she had a bias to ladies or people generally who were overweight. And she said, I did the same. I looked in the mirror and said, but I'm talking about myself. So have a look at this survey and see what it tells you about yourself. We often now, in today's world, people working much, much later in life, and therefore as internal auditors, as heads of internal audit, we could be working with 4 generations. So we need to learn how to flex our styles, to communicate with each person that they interact with, and to recognize those differences. Developing diverse competencies is critical today. As internal auditors, we need to make sure we have the sensitivity and flexibility necessary to understand and adapt to so many different kinds of thinking and learning styles in a global workforce. So hopefully you've begun to think about that in terms of the inspirational leader I asked you to think about at the beginning of this session. And as we draw to a conclusion, I want us to think about a few more things. So if we are to succeed as leaders in the future, and hopefully for some of you, your career is just beginning. So, you know, you might be an internal auditor now, or a team leader, but hopefully you're going to be a head of internal audit one day in some huge organization. We will need to be agile. We'll need to be flexible, resilient, empathetic, and diverse. Those are really important factors that we need to build into our skills armory, if you like, aren't they? Skills that we can demonstrate our ability to deal with. An internal audit department must possess a combination of broad and deep capabilities. We don't want a team of everyone sharing the same thoughts. These capabilities will always include technical skills, and given the pace of technology and business change, it's safe to note the need for internal auditors to update existing technical skills and acquire new technical skills is going to remain constant. Are you using tools like data analytics? If you're not, is that something you need to think about? Are you using an agile methodology? If not, maybe you need to consider that. Yet these deep areas of expertise qualify as a given, if you like. So a head of audit who presides over leading internal audit functions needs to understand the difference between basic, taken for granted skills and attributes that truly differentiate their team. And I believe that that's going to matter significantly as we move forward. So we need to make sure that within our teams, these are the things that we have that truly differentiates us within our organization. Internal audit functions strive to attract and develop non-technical attributes in a number of ways. And that might be the establishment of a compelling internal audit brand that attracts top talent. Do you have a brand? Do you have a newsletter? Do you have a page on your website? Do you have a page on your intranet? How do people know about you? How do you make sure you attract top talent, both internal to your organization and external? Rigorous selection processes that identify candidates' propensity to develop these valuable attributes. Because wherever you are recruited into your internal audit function, you will grow and you will develop. And we need to be clear, what are the skills, what are the attributes you need to develop? Training programs that target these skills within these attributes will be key. We need to think about being innovative and develop innovative activities. We need performance review programs that reward proficiency in specific non-technical attributes. So that's what I've tried to communicate. And I said to you at the beginning, think about the people that you have identified as inspirational leaders. Do they have some of these skills, some of these attributes perhaps? So as we think about the future, I want us to think about COVID-19 brings many challenges, as I've said at the beginning. It is a powerful game changer in terms of ways of working, particularly perhaps for those sectors and organisations that have perhaps been hesitant in the past to enable employees to work remotely. Something to remember when thinking about business leadership excellence is about thriving in the future. Internal audit leaders and internal auditors should understand the attributes and skills that leading internal audit functions value and seek out individuals that enable the audit team to cultivate these qualities, as well as cultivating the qualities yourself. Finally, internal auditors at all levels should apply as much effort and precision to the acquisition and development of non-technical attributes that they currently apply to the enhancement of their traditional internal audit expertise, i.e. achieving your CIA qualification, achieving your chartered qualification perhaps. So for those of you who are just tuning in now, today we spoke about business leadership excellence. We explored the value leadership excellence can bring to both organisations and internal audit, and how strong heads of internal audit might ensure the success of our profession in these very, very uncertain times. The live stream is available afterwards for those of your friends, colleagues who may have missed the live version on the Institute's Facebook channel. Follow all the exciting things the Institute is doing on Facebook, LinkedIn and Twitter. And as a member, you have access to the latest edition of the Audit and Risk magazine on our website, which came out today. And there is a phenomenal piece in that on disruption, so really worth reading. As you know, those of you that have been with me before, I'm happy to take questions via email at liz.sandwith@iia.org.uk. Next week, because I'm sure you're bored with hearing me, I'm going to be handing over the ship to Derek Jamieson. Derek is our Scottish Regional Director, also a long-standing internal auditor, and he will navigate you through the choppy waters of climate change. Details of what time this will take place will be announced tomorrow, Friday, following the outcome of the poll this week. So it may not be, well, it's unlikely to be 12 noon. It's more likely to be 2, 3 or 4. I will be back on the 16th of July to talk about disruption, following the article in the magazine, whether your organisation is a disruptor or has been disrupted, and how internal audit might be more of a disruptor, both professionally and within their organisations. So hopefully you will join me next week with your cup of coffee and have a safe and a positive week. And thank you so very much for sharing your time with me today. So stay safe, have a great week, and remember, talk to Internal Audit because the Institute is listening. Thank you ever so much. Take care.